Okay, welcome to episode 4. We are here at the shop again today. This is ripping through like episode every week. It's really helping us get this build on schedule, try to get it done, and we're excited to kind of show you the process. Last episode we talked about getting the body ready, cutting that groove channel. We'll get back to the body probably in the episode 5, but today we're going to focus mostly on the neck. We're going to go through prepping it for the CNC and actually cutting the neck out as well. And we'll talk about a little bit of what that takes and then what it looks like as it comes off of the machine. So let's go take a look. All right, our next step is going to be prepping these blanks to mount to the CNC. What we do is actually just a screw down mount and then it flips over. We have kind of a front side and a back side job on the CNC, as you'll see, separated into several operations depending on what tools we're actually using. So we've got our ribbon sapele blank here that we planed down. And we're also going to be cutting a quarter sawn maple blank for a customer at the same time. So the nice thing is, again, we get to do 2 necks at the same time and kind of let the machine do its thing while we're going. But we've got a couple things to do here. Basically, with this template that you see here on the right-hand side, that's got some holes for our locator pins and the screw downs. And then we've got kind of an alignment where the headstock's going to sit. That just allows us to move that up and down. Like we talked about on the body template, we can set that kind of where we want. If we want like a specific grain to show up here on the headstock, or we really like the way the maple looks. Or honestly, if we're trying to avoid something on the blank, we can actually kind of adjust it accordingly. So that allows us to have a little bit of flexibility. As you can see, the profile of the neck, we've got plenty of room, again, on our neck here to go up and down. We always like to leave that extra room. You never know what you're going to see on a piece of wood. There could be a split on the end or any number of things. So we try to make sure we're not wasting too much wood, but at this point we really want to make sure we could actually get a neck blank out of each of these pieces. So as we position this where we want it, we're going to use just a simple center punch hole. So get that right in there. Looks pretty good. I'm going to make sure that on this that our holes are actually going to go through the wood of the jig, and then we'll hold this down and basically you just kind of punch that center. You can hear it snap there. Just hold it in place. It's just allowing us to have those locator pins here. And we got one more hole. Very cool. All right, so we'll do the same thing on the other neck, and then we'll get those mounted in the CNC and go from there. All right, over here at the CNC, we've got our 2 blanks screwed down. As you can see, we went ahead and drilled the holes where we marked our template spots. And you can see over there, they're all drilled down. For the front side job on this, we've got a couple different things we do. We have 3 different operations. We're going to be doing the relief area on the headstock as it transitions down from the fretboard. We're also going to do a little bit of that end of the fretboard transition as well. As the fretboard scoops after the nut and drops down to the headstock, we kind of pre-cut that a little bit as well. So we'll do that one. And then the final operation on the front side here is going to be the truss rod slot. We also put some locator pins, and we'll show you how those work down when we're gluing in the neck and the fretboard and truss rod, all that stuff. So we've got the 3 front side jobs. Let's go ahead and get started on. Okay, so both the necks are done on the front side. You can see all of the different cuts that we've done here with the headstock area, truss rod slot. We also have some locator holes that will correspond to the fretboard, so we can position the fretboards correctly over that. So what we're going to do now is flip these over and start the backside jobs, which are the tuner mounting holes, and then the big job, which is carving, cutting out the neck, and putting the tuner holes in. All right, so the necks are both cut here. We've got everything ready just to take out, and we'll talk about a little bit of the next steps from here, and we'll give you some up close look at the carves that the CNC does. Basically, these are being held in place by those pins that we talked about before. So we'll go ahead and take this guy out. We'll see if we can make it come out. Sometimes the tabs are still attached, which looks like the case here. So what we'll do now is just remove all the bolts and pull these out and show you what they look like all finished. Everything's removed from the jig now. You can see the locator pins. We popped this neck off. Take a look at our job here. Truss rod slot, you can see the pin there. We'll pull that out in just a minute. We use the heel adjust truss rod on all of the necks that we make, so you can see that. It's gonna stick out the end there. A little bit of tabs left over. You usually have to cut those off. Sometimes they're thin enough that they'll just break, but we've got to be careful. A couple things to note. On the back side, we've got our tuner mounting holes. Everything looks good. It's always a good idea to give this an inspection to make sure that we don't have any issues before we start thinking about attaching the fretboard and doing all the rest of the steps. So you can see on the tool path here, the camera will focus there, there we go. You can see a little bit of a rough carve. This is our medium C shape here. A lot of handwork goes in to get this all cleaned up. And then on the heel, we have the holes for our threaded inserts. So those will get put in right before we do the rest of the glue up. All right, so we're over here with the fretboard. We're getting the fretboard ready. We didn't show you the cutting operation because we actually had this fretboard cut quite a bit ahead of time. So we're gonna just use this nice Indian ebony fretboard. We've got it ready for inlays. Hold the camera up here a little closer. You can see the fret slots, the nut slot. We've got our white inlay dots here. And what we're doing now is just sawing the slots a little bit deeper, making sure we're ready to accept the tang of the fret wire. So you can see we've got the slots roughly cut with the CNC there. We'll take them a little bit down farther. If you take a look, I'll adjust the camera here so you can see kind of a better angle of the fretboard and kind of what it looks like off the machine. All right, so a little closer look at the fretboard. You can see some rough tooling marks. We're gonna go ahead and make sure the inlays are in there first, and then we're gonna actually take a radius block later on and get that thing trimmed down a little bit before we do the glue up. So right now what we're doing is just making sure those slots are perfect. We've got a little depth stop on the fret saw there, and we're just checking to make sure we don't have any issues when we do put the frets in later on. But right now it's just kind of a pre-job, I guess you could say, right, Mike? It's kind of do this ahead of time, and then we do it again. Just kind of make sure that everything is right all the way through the process. So after we get this done, we'll get a little action shot of the inlays going in. Okay, so now we're ready to put in a fret dot. So we're going to put a little super glue in here. We've got a medium and kind of a medium mixture overall, I guess. And we're going to get that dot in there. And we're going to just repeat that process all the way down the line with each of the fret dots. Just going to add that glue and put the dot in. Sometimes we'll have to tap those in, and then a lot of times we'll add some filler. Yeah, we'll add filler, or we'll add a little extra glue around the side. Ebony's definitely a little easier to work with than some other wood. Okay, next step here is we are putting the threaded inserts into the heel of the neck here. All of our guitars have Threaded inserts in the necks keeps a better neck to body contact, good resonance. And we'll zoom in here, get a shot of those being installed there. All right, we're back here at the bench, and we talked about kind of in the intro of this build back in episode 1 that we would deal with any problems that came up, any curveballs. So we actually just had one here with our Sapele neck. So one of the things we noticed, you can see we got some practice in on the Headstock logo there. We just showed you the installation of the inserts. So this neck was just about ready for the fretboard. We finished inlaying the fretboard here, the ebony. You can see there, all the inlays are in, and we were just about to do the side dots and go into the glue up phase. But something we noticed as we were putting this in the laser to get the Headstock logo engraved, the neck is twisted considerably. So you can't quite see it here. I'll see if I can get the camera. You see how it's sitting flat on the bench, and then if you look over kind of at the top side here, you can see how there's a gap there. If I push on that, you can see the neck is definitely starting to twist a little bit, which is definitely unfortunate considering that it is the quarter sawn Sapele that is normally very straight. We've actually built several necks with this wood before and had zero problems. It's got enough of a twist that we're not going to accept it, and this is one of the reasons why we do these necks this way, because we can catch wood that's starting to twist or warp before we actually glue in a truss rod and put on a fretboard and all that. So we've now created ourselves a little bit of a dilemma what we do with this project. Do we redo this neck? Do we try to work with it, which obviously we're not going to because we're not happy with how much it's moved. We would like it to be dead flat. Here and here should be the same surface, and you can definitely push on it and see it start. So there's a little bit of a twist up in this area as the headstock almost starts to twist back this way. So we obviously do not accept that here in our builds. So this will be firewood essentially. It'll be some practice. We actually got a new laser engraver, so we've been practicing kind of getting the power settings on this neck. So it wasn't all for loss, but we will be scrapping this neck and not using it for anything else. So what we're going to do is to keep this project kind of on a schedule, we actually have a roasted bird's eye maple neck here that we have already had cut. Very, very cool grains and figures, and it's in about that same stage, just needs the inserts. It is dead straight and flat. Very, very important to have that in a neck. It's been cut for a few months now, and it's very, very stable. So I think what we're going to do is just kind of shift the build a little bit, because this build is not necessarily for a customer. Obviously for the customer we would get some more Sapele and cut that out. But we're going to continue on with this build, and we're going to stay with the ebony, and we're going to go with the ebony and roasted bird's eye maple for the build. So it will be, I guess you could say, maybe a happy accident. Very nice looking neck that this will be here. So in the next episode, because of this little bit of delay, we'll get the new logo on here. We'll move over to getting the truss rod installed. We also got our epoxy for the channel on the body that we were going to fill in. So we'll kind of work on all of that. But yeah, that's kind of dealing with a little bit of the things that come up. And I think this will be definitely a really nice looking guitar still, even maybe a little nicer than it was before, and which is okay. And we'll kind of keep rolling with it and dealing with any challenges or weird things that come up in the process. All right, so thanks for watching part 4 of the build. Well, as we said before, we'll get into the next couple stages here. We'll start working on that body. We'll start sanding that body, but we're going to be focusing on the filling of the stripes and the grooves and the channels on there. And we'll be talking about pickup selection. We'll be getting this new neck that we talked about glued up, getting the fretboard on there, getting the side dots on. So we're really going to start getting into some of the good action stuff, and a lot of time goes into each neck that we do as well. So we may still focus on an episode just on getting the neck ready, but we will be kind of bouncing back and forth between the neck and the body in the future episodes. So thanks again for watching. Hope you're enjoying this. Leave some comments if you have any questions on the part of the build. Let me know what you think of this guitar as well, and we look forward to just kind of sharing with you more of this process. And then in the future, we'll also get into creating the pickups for this as well. We'll talk about kind of how we decide what pickups to put in these builds that we're doing ahead of time, and then just kind of show you this whole rest of the process. So we're looking forward to this. We're really excited to see this guitar. Every time you start cutting it and it becomes more real, it's something that you're like, you just want to play it right away. And we're getting there, and we're looking forward to that final reveal, I guess you could say. So thanks again for watching. We really appreciate your support. You can check us out at porterguitars.com and porterpickups.com, and we look forward to seeing you on the next show.